Okay.
Your first affidavit and your second affidavit.
Okay.
Have you got them open? That's in
open
bundle RR4.
RR4. Yeah, which paragraph are you referring to?
I'm not going to be that specific. Just talking about the pages.
Yes,
Have you got
the affidavit are open. So that I don't know which one are you referring to?
No, the page 1843, that's your first one.
Or the first one?
Yeah, the first one is page 1843.
Yes.
And the second one is page 1845. Have you got it?
The second one.
It's 2 pages later, after that.
Okay.
And then if you can look at page bundle RR7. And I want you to look at page 233.
Okay, you can just give me a moment.
Have you got it? RR7.
RR7.
Have you got it?
Okay, I've got RR4.
No, have you got RR7?
RR7. I don't have RR7. Yeah? I've got RR4.
Have you got RR7? RR7 is a different bundle. It's not the bundle that you're looking at now.
No, I'm looking at the 2 affidavits here.
Yes, that's right, and I want you to keep those.
Yeah.
But I also want you to look at RR7, which... So if you can flag those 2 affidavits.
Yes.
And then I want you to look at RR7.
I do see that, but there's no RR7, it's RR4. Maybe if you can just tell me the content.
It's the letter that was the letter of the 7th of September.
7th September.
Remember that?
Or the letter that was sent to me for questioning.
Are you ready?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we're going to be leading the evidence of Mr. Mzila this afternoon. His evidence touches upon some of the evidence that was given by Mr. Michael Maboyokulu.
Yes. And he's going to be
testifying essentially about two affidavits that he deposed to, relating to the two donations, to the donations that were allegedly received from Dr. Savoy.
Okay, and he's going to make use of an interpreter.
He will be testifying through an interpreter, Mr. Chair. We've made
Please give
available
me that file for the interpreter. Is our interpreter, Mr. Mzoto?
He is available.
Please stand up, Mr. Mzoto. Please state your full names for the record.
My name's Kulegani Dumolwake Mzoto.
Do you have any objection to taking the prescribed oath or affirmation?
I do not, Chair. I'll take the oath.
The oath. Okay, all right. Do you consider the oath binding on your conscience?
I do.
Okay. Do you swear that you are proficient in English and in isiZulu and that you are able to interpret and translate from English to isiZulu and vice versa?
I do, Your Worship.
Okay. Do you swear that if called upon to interpret in these proceedings from isiZulu to English and from English to isiZulu, you will do so honestly and to the best of your knowledge and ability?
I do, Chair.
Please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. You are duly sworn in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
If we can have the witness.
Then the registrar. Good afternoon, Mr. Mzila.
Good afternoon, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you for making yourself available once again. Are you legally represented today?
Yes, I'm legally represented. I don't know whether my legal representative is available, but I'm legally represented.
Okay. What's the position, Mr. Halley?
Mr. Chair, as I understood the position, certainly his legal representative was not going to be available. I'm not sure if he's available today, but he was certainly not going to be available when Mr. Mzila was scheduled to testify. He said it wasn't necessary for him to be available.
Okay. Okay, you confirm that, Mr. Mzila? Did you hear Mr. Halley?
Yes.
You confirm that?
Yes. Yes, Chairperson.
Okay, no, that's all right. The registrar will now administer the oath of affirmation to you, Mr. Mzila, and the interpreter will interpret as the registrar administers the oath.
Please state your full names for the record.
Socela usiphe amagama akho aphelele.
Delani Hopewell Mzima.
Do you have any objection to taking the prescribed oath?
Ngoba uzabona inkinga yokuthatha isifungo sokukhuluma iqiniso.
Angizoba nenkinga.
I have no objection, Chair.
Do you consider the oath binding on your conscience?
Ingabe isifungo usithatha njengaleso esikubophezelayo kunembeza wakho ukuthi ukhulume lona iqiniso?
Yebo.
I do.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
Ingabe yafunga ukuthi ubufakazi uzobethula buzokuba iqiniso, iqiniso lonke neqiniso lodwa. Uma kunjalo siyocela uphakame isandla sakho sokudla uthi inkosi ngisiza.
Nkosi ngisize.
So help me God.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mzila, can you tell the chairperson where you're currently employed?
Nomzana Umzila socela utshele usihlalo ukuthi njengamanje uqashwe kuphi?
Iqashwe ANC African National Congress KwaZulu-Natal in Durban.
I am currently in the employ of the African National Congress, KwaZulu-Natal, based in Durban.
And in what capacity are you so employed?
Kusiphi isikhundla?
Isikhundla sami engibhekene naso assista treasurer as a finance manager.
I am employed in the capacity of assisting the treasurer as the finance manager.
Yes.
Now, in 2009, were you also employed by the African National Congress in the capacity as a financial manager assisting the treasurer?
Ingabe ngonyaka ka-2009 wawuqashiwe yiyo inhlangano ka-ANC njengokulekelela umgcini mafa ukuthi ke ube u-finance manager?
Yebo.
Yes, Chair, I was.
And in that, in that period of time that you were in the employ of the ANC as a financial manager, you deposed to 2 affidavits, which are the subject of your testimony today. I'd like you to turn with me to bundle RR4 at page 1843.
Kuzobonakala ke lapha umnumzana ukuthi ngathi ulapho kuleso sikhundla kuneyincwadi eyifungelwe ngaleso sikhathi owake wayibhala ngenxa yesikhundla wawukuso sokuthi ke wawulekelela utreasurer ngokuthi ube u-financial manager. Njeke kuzocela ubuke lapha ya ku RR4
Page 1843.
page 1843.
Yebo.
Are you there?
Ngabe usulutholile lelo khasi?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
paragraph 3.
No.
RR4. Paragraph 3.
It's your first affidavit.
This is what I'll refer to as your first affidavit, sir.
Incwadi yakho yokuqala efungelwe.
Yebo.
Yes, Chair, found it.
And then you also deposed to a second affidavit, which is 2 pages on in that bundle at page 1845.
Kanti futhi kunencwadi yakho yesibili efungelwe tholakala laphana mbeke incwadi yakho yesibili kuwo lo mqulu wamaphepha uRR4 kuthiwa ke laphana 184 wesibili
184.
It comes immediately after the first affidavit.
bakuphela nje lencwadi yakho yokuqala efungelwe elandelayo incwadi yakho yesibili efungelwe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you found it?
Sihlalo ngino paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.1 and 7.2.
Let me
Kule
see.
kule ncwadi efungelwe yesibili.
Chair, on the second affidavit I have from paragraph 1 through to 7.1, 7.2, and until 7.3 of the second affidavit.
Yes.
Do you not have paragraph 8?
U-8 kawunayo?
Or corner 8.
I do, Chair.
Okay, it looks like you have got the whole affidavit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Now, before we get into the content of the affidavit, Mr. Mzila, could you tell us, insofar as the first affidavit is concerned, that one which is at page 1843, could you explain to the chairperson of the circumstances in which you deposed to that affidavit?
So qala ke ngaphambi kokuthi kuqhutshelwe kuleli lesibili i-affidavit. So qala ke wazisa usihlalo lapha ngezimo ezaholela ekutheni ubhale lencwadi yakho yokuqalwa efungelwe.
Incwadi yokuqala lefungelwe ngayibhala. Ngacela ukuthi ngisayine incwadi yokuqala lefungelwe ukuthi kukhona into imali eyangena kwi-ANC through i-donation. Ngicelwa ngi-advisor ummeli wathi angisayine ilo incwadi efungelwe yokuqala on behalf of the ANC. Sayina ke.
Okay, just give me. Awunikeze utolika khona ezotolika ke ungaqhubeki kakhulu. The interpreter will interpret before he goes too far. Okay?
Chairperson, the first affidavit was given to me to sign. This was to show or to confirm that there were monies that were paid to the ANC as a donation. I was asked to sign this affidavit by an attorney who said I must sign it on behalf of the ANC to show that we had received a donation.
Do you recall the name of the attorney?
Ngabe sakhumbula ukuthi kwakubani lo mmeli wacela ukuthi usayinde incwadi efungelwe?
Usibusisiwe ngubani?
Sibusisiwe ngubani?
Yebo.
And when Ms. Ngubani contacted you and asked you to sign this affidavit, did she explain to you the background to why it is that you were required to sign it?
Ngathi unkosazana uNgubane ekunikeza lencwadi ukuthi uyisayine ingabe wakunikeza yini isithombe sokuthi okusempeleni kuyini lokho athi kusayinde mhlambe ekunikeza nje isithombe esigcwele?
Yeah, one advise ukuthi ngisayine on behalf of the ANC because we administrative matter kufanele ucela ukuthi ngisayine ukuze iye kuma investigators. Mina ngisayina ngokuthi ngivekise office full time. Yeah,
Chairperson, she advised me to sign this document on behalf of the ANC. She indicated to me that I was signing this document because it was an administrative process. And she further indicated to me that this will then be taken to the investigators. And she asked me to sign because I was, at the time, full-time in the office in my employ with the ANC.
Now, did you consider the information in the document, in the affidavit that she sent to you?
Ingabe ke walibuka yini ulwazi lwabe liqukethwe kule ncwadi efungelwe kwakuthiwa isayinde?
Ngayibuka information sasingekho isidingo sokuthi ngingabaze ukusayina kwangoba utreasurer ngaleso sikhathi owayekhona wayesengi-advisile ukuthi kunezinto ezikhokheliwe through donation. And then sasingekho isidingo sokuthi ngithuwe ngoba utreasurer wayesengitshelile ukuthi kunezinto ezikhokhelwe nge-donation. Wangangitshela isamba semali, wangangitshela futhi ukuthi ubani ufaka imali.
I did look at the document, Chairperson, and I did not have a reason to doubt what was contained therein because I had been informed by the treasurer at the time that there are certain things that had been paid for using the donation. So because the treasurer had told me that, I had no cause to be concerned or to doubt, but that the treasurer did not indicate to me the sum or the amount of the donation, and he did not inform me who had donated said money.
Just before you proceed, Mr. Hali, when Ms. Ngubane approached you about the matter that she put to you, did you know something about the matter already, or were you hearing about the matter from her for the first time?
Mhlawumbe ngaphambi kokuthi uqhubeke ngenkathi efika kuwe unkosazana uNgubane ngalolu daba ukuthi kudingakala ukuthi usayinde le ncwadi efungelwe, ingabe wawuqala ukizwa le ndaba ngalesi sikhathi ifika nonkosazana uNgubane noma wawusukuwezwa ngayo ngaphambilini?
Ngalenkathi uMrs Ngubane efika kumina, utreasurer wayesekade engibriefile ukuthi engichazelile kancane ukuthi kunezinto ezikhokheliwe, nami futhi ngangi-aware ukuthi kunezinto ezikhokheliwe ezingakhokhelwanga ngokwi-account ye-ANC. Ngase ngicabanga ukuthi mhlampe ukhuluma ngalolu daba lolu treasurer angikhulume ngayo, kodwa utreasurer azange asho ukuthi imalini, akazange asho futhi ukuthi iphuma kubani.
Before Mrs. Ngubane came to me, the treasurer had briefed me and had spoken to me briefly about the fact that there are certain things that had been paid for, but that such things had not been paid from the account of the ANC, and they had been paid for by means of a donation. Although he had not specified the amount of the donation and who the donor was, then when Mrs. Ngubane approached me, I thought to myself, she is coming to me pursuant to what the treasurer had told me.
Can you try, as far as you are able to, just tell me the conversation between you and the treasurer that you are talking about? How did it come about that you had that conversation, and what was the gist of what he told you?
Kulokho nje usengakwazi ukuthi ukukhumbule lapha mnumzana uMzila, siyacela ukuthi kawutshele lapha usihlala ukuthi lenkulumo owabanayo no treasurer yaqhamuka kanjani nokuthi umongo waleyo nkulumo eyabakhona phakathi kwakho naye yayithini?
Sihlalo noma ngeke ngize ngikwazi ukukhumbula kahle ukuthi kwakuyini isizathu ukuthi angitshele, kodwa wangitshela nje ukuthi kunezinto esizikhokhelile nami engizaziyo ezenzekile ze-conference ezingakhokhelanga ku-ANC. Ngakunothisa ngathi yebo, ngakunothisa ngoba yimina engise ofisini imina engiprepare i-check ngaleso sikhathi sasisebenzisa i-checkbook. Treasurer wasengi-informa-ke lokuthi cha kunezinto ezenzekile delana ezingakhokhelwanga ANC. Ngangazi ukuthi wayekushiswa yini lokho.
Chair, I cannot remember what led to the treasurer telling me these things, but I do remember that he told me that there are certain things that had been paid for and certain things that had been done that had not been paid for using the ANC account. And I also knew that there were some things that had been done that had not been paid for by the ANC account, because at the time I was office-based and I'm the one who, at that time we were still using a checkbook. I'm the one who would carry the checkbook. So I knew that some things had been done but had not been paid for by the ANC. So he told me that those things had in fact been paid for through a donation.
Now, when you had a conversation with Ms. Ngubane, how long after your discussion with the treasurer was it?
Ngathi usuxoxa nonkosazana uNgubane kwasekudlule isikhathi esingakanani ukade ukhulume no treasurer?
Kwase kunesikhathi ngoba i-conference yayisidlulile. Ngaleso sikhathi u-treasurer wengasayena u-treasurer. Kodwa wangitshela ngisakhumbula ukuthi isikhathi sasesingakanani sidlulile. Ngikwazi ukukhumbula kwami kunesikhathi esidala.
Chair, it had been some time after my conversation with the treasurer, because it was after our conference. I'm not able to say how long it was, but I remember that when I spoke to Ms. Ngubane, the treasurer had at that time vacated that position of being a treasurer.
Was it a matter of days? Was it weeks? Was it months that you had the conversation? In other words, the two conversations you had, one with the treasurer, the other one with Ms. Ngubane, were they weeks apart or months apart?
Mhlambe uma ungabekisa nje ungathi lezi inkulumo le owabanayo noSikhwama kanye nale owabanayo nonkosazana uNgubane zayihlukene mhlambe ngesikhathi ongathi kwangamaviki mhlambe kwakwezinyanga, mhlambe uma ungakwazi ukunikeza leso sithombe.
Sihlalo kunzima ukusho ukuthi kwakuyisikhathi esingakanani ukuthi ngoba ama-discussions abakhona nje ayengekho emeetingini, but kwakwama-discussions ayengekho emeetingini. Akuyona into yadiscusswa emeetingini, but ngale nkathi u-treasurer wangichazela nje ofisini ukuthi kunezinto ezikhokheliwe, then ngeke ngize ngikwazi ukuba neshow ukuthi uMrs. Ngubane wafikani nanginothisanga.
Chair, it's going to be difficult for me to be able to say how far apart the two conversations were, because these were conversations that were not done in a formal setting, perhaps in a meeting. I remember that when the treasurer explained to me that there were things that had been paid for, not with the ANC account, he told me that in an office, and I cannot be able to say how long then after that I had the conversation with Mrs. Ngubane.
And then, can you try as far as you can to give me the conversation that took place between you and Ms. Ngubane when Ms. Ngubane introduced this matter to you for the first time.
Ungakuzame kulokho sengakwazi nje ukukhumbula ngokusemandleni akho ukuthi umongo wenkulumo eyabakhona phakathi kwakho nonkosazane uNgubane ngenkathi efika kuwe ezokwethula lolu daba okokuqala.
uMrs Ngubane wanginika i-call wathi kunodaba olu-investigatwayo elithinta i-donation ethinta i-donation eqhamuka uMr Savo kunemali efikile yafika kwi-ANC kunolokhuzana kunencwadi affidavit ufune ngiyisayine on behalf of the ANC. I then
just give the interpreter a chance. Okay, I will nikeze utolika tulitwa lokutolika losokushira.
Chairperson, Mrs. Ngubane gave me a call. She then informed me that there is a matter of a donation that is being investigated. She further indicated that that matter was concerning a donation that had been received by the ANC from one Mr. Savulo. Safoye, beg your pardon. She then further indicated that I would have to sign an affidavit on behalf of the ANC.
Okay, continue. And how did the conversation continue? What did you say and what else did she share with you about this matter?
Ungaqhubeka ke inkulumo yabe sithini wathini yini okunye akusho ngalolu daba nokuthi wena wabe usuphendula uthini?
Ngayithatha i-affidavit wangi-emailele i-affidavit le ayangicela ukuthi ngiyisayine. Ngase ngibuza ukuthi why kufuneka isayinwe yimina? Isiphi isizathu sokuthi isayinwe yimina? Wayesethi ngoba into yase-ofisini mina ngisayina on behalf of the ANC and ngangathuka kakhulu ngoba utreasurer wayesengitshelile ukuthi kunezinto ezenziwe ze-conference ezenziwe through donation. Then ngase ngisayina-ke mina ngisayina on behalf of the ANC.
Chairperson, she then emailed me this affidavit which she asked me to sign. I asked her though as to why was it necessary that I'm the one who was to sign this affidavit. She then indicated to me that that was the case because this related to an office matter and that I'm the one who had to sign the said affidavit. I also remembered that the treasurer had told me that there were certain things that for the ANC conference that had been paid for using a donation. So I was not too alarmed by her request. She sent through the affidavit using an email, and then I signed the affidavit.
Mr. Ali, do you want to take it from there?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, what is the name of the treasurer to whom you're referring?
Treasurer lo okhuluma ngaye ngabe ubani igama lakhe?
Michael Mabuyakulu.
Name is Michael Mabuyakulu.
And you said that in your discussion with him that you had before the discussion with Ms. Ngubane, he had indicated that certain items had been paid for but not from the ANC account. Is that correct?
Uvezeke lapha ukuthi engxoxweni owabanazo naye wayeke wakutshela ukuthi kunezinto mhle ithize ezakhokhelwa kodwa omali yazo ayizange ithathwe esikhwameni kumbe kwi-account ye-ANC. Ngabe kunjani?
Yeah.
That's correct.
In fact, they had been paid for by donations.
Kepha ke futhi wakuveza ukuthi lezo zinto zakhokhelwa ngemali eyabe i-donation.
Yes, ngacabanga kanjalo.
Yes, that's what I thought.
And do you recall which items he was referring to?
Engabe uyakhumbula ukuthi iziphi lezi zinto ayikhuluma ngazo ukuthi zakhokhelwa kusetshenziswa imali ye-donation?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us?
Socela ke utshele i-commissioner ngazo.
Kwaba ama-t-shirt, ama-bags, ama-caps, accommodation, some of the transport, and then the catering. And then the hall, the venue.
Chair, it was the t-shirts, bags, caps, accommodation, some of the transport, catering, as well as the venue.
Thank you, sir. And had you seen the money that was used to pay for these different items?
Engabe wena wayibona yini imali eyasetshenziswa ukukhokhela lezi zinto?
No, I could hello treasurer. Treasurer, kunama meeting kwesinye isikhathi ayingabi khona kuwona ngangiba kuwona mina ngirepresenta yena bese ngireporta kuyena ukuthi kunezinto ezikhulunywe meeting prep meeting i-prep meeting bese isho ukuthi nazi izinto esiyi-identifyile bese ngireporta ku-treasurer then bese ngichazela ukuthi lezi zinto zizokwenzeka lezi zizokwenzeka lezi ayizokwenza lezi ezazenzeka ngokwe-office wayengitshela then bese ngireporta meeting ngisacela ukuxolisa nje kancane sihlalo la ilokhuzana i-ANC yakhokhela i-conference hall yakhokhela i-decoration yakhokhela i-election commission cela ukuxolisa nje kulo conference hall.
Okay.
I did not, Chair. Those were paid for by the treasurer. There are certain meetings where the treasurer would not be present in, and I would attend those meetings representing the treasurer. And then I would then report to the treasurer what had happened at the prep meeting, and I would tell them the discussions that were held. And then the treasurer will tell me of the things that were discussed in the meetings, that these things will happen and these would not be able to happen. And those things that would be discussed in the meetings, he will tell me about those that would have to be paid for by the ANC, and then I would refer those back to the meeting. But if I may, Chairperson, just beg your pardon and rectify what I said earlier. Amongst the things that were paid for by the ANC includes the venue that I had said was paid for through the donation. The ANC paid for the venue, the decoration. If venue decoration, none of ANC, look, we start.
Election Commission.
and Election Commission.
Yes.
Are you saying that those items, the venue and the decoration, those were paid for by the ANC and not by the donations?
Uthi-ke indawo nomhlobiso kwakhokhelwa i-ANC hayi i-donation.
Yebo.
Yes.
Now, you subsequently deposed to the second affidavit, which I've asked you to look at page 1845.
1845.
This is still bundle RR4, Mr. Chair. This is your second affidavit.
Ake sidlulele ke manje encwadini yakho yesibili efungelwe laphayana ekhasini 1845.
Mr. Halley,
Yes,
there's
Mr.
a
Chair.
question you had asked earlier, which you didn't get an answer because I then asked certain questions. That was an important question.
Yes.
You had asked a question whether he did look at the contents of the affidavit, first affidavit, before he signed. I don't believe you got an answer because I intervened.
My
Or
apologies.
did you get an answer?
I thought you had answered it, but sir, if we can go back to page 1843. Before signing this particular affidavit, this is your first affidavit. Did you consider the contents before doing so?
Sibuyele mhlambe lapha ekhasini 1843. Incwadi yakho yokuqala leya efungelwe ngaphambi kokuthi uyisayinde le ncwadi efungelwe ngabe wayifunda yini?
Incwadi efungele yokuqala.
The first affidavit.
Yes.
Yebo mnumzane.
Ngayifunda mase ngiyifundile ngase ngibuza ukuthi siphi isizathu ukuthi isayinwe yimini. Ngase ngithola i-advice ukuthi cha le ncwadi engiyisayinayo ngiyisayiniswa ukuthi yimina engise-ofisini and no treasurer esengichazelile kancane ukuthi cha ikhona izinto esizenzile kodwa esingazenzanga wemali from the account of the ANC. Ngase ngiyisayina. Okwangithusaka ama-questions aqhamuka emva kwalokho.
Chair, I did read through the affidavit, and having read it, I then posed the question as to why was it necessary that I be the one to sign the said affidavit, when I was then advised that the reason is that I am the one who is based at the office of the ANC, and that I should sign this affidavit on behalf of the ANC. That, as well as the fact that the treasurer had briefed me about the fact that there were certain items that were not paid for from the account of the ANC, but rather from the donation. After that, for those reasons, I then signed the affidavit. But what somewhat puzzled me are the questions that followed afterwards.
When you refer to the questions that followed afterwards, what questions are you referring to now?
Uma ukhuluma ngembuzo eyalandela emva kwalokho, emiphi le mbuzo okhuluma ngayo?
Sihlalo imibuzo eyaqhamuka noma eyafika kumina uma ngabe sengisayinile affidavit yokuqala yayi detailed, even though I don't have ilokhuzana the actual content, but yayi detailed ukutheni imali yayinjani ngenza kanjani mangabe ifika ama-questions angithusa ngilawo. Ngase ngenza eyesibili ukuthi ngicela ukuthi ama-questions afana nalolu hlobo ayiswe ku-treasurer ngoba u-treasurer owahengisha i-donation. Ayizange ibanjwe, azange ifike kumina. Akumina enga-receive i-donation u-treasurer. Kodwa anginawo kahle ulwazi lwakhulu lama-questions engathi uswama-questions ukuthi kufuneka ngichazeke manje ukuthi imali yayinjani, ayo 100 rand, ayo 20 rand, ayo 50 rand. Then ngase ngithi cha, ngisacela ukuthi abaphenyi balolu daba balise ku-treasurer ngoba uyena umuntu owa-receive imali, ngoba uyena futhi wangichazela ukuthi kunento eyenzekile, kodwa wangayisho imali, wangayisho futhi iqhamuka kuphi.
Chairperson, the questions that followed were now questions that were somewhat detailed, and they wanted me to give details as to what did the money look like and what did I do with the money, how did I handle the money. It was then, Chair, that I deposed to the second affidavit stating that the best person who could be questioned about those details is the treasurer, because he's the one that handled the donation. Because I had not seen the money myself. I had been told by the treasurer that we had received some donation, but he had not told me how much it was or any details insofar as the particularity of that donation. So I told them, because now they're asking me as to, was it notes? Was there notes of 100 rands, 50 rands, 20 rands and the like? It was then that I had indicated that perhaps the investigators of this matter, to get more clarity insofar as those details are concerned, they best speak to the treasurer because he's the one who had handled the donation.
Now, before we get to the actual letter that was sent to you, but just to wrap up insofar as the first affidavit is concerned, and for the benefit of the chairperson, just consider page 1843 again and tell us which aspects of that document you had personal knowledge of, and if there's any aspects that you did not have personal knowledge of.
Mhlawumbe ngaphambi kokuthi sidlule kule ncwadi yokuqala efungelwe, socela uye lapha ekhasini 1843 bese mhlawumbe utshela usihlalo ukuthi eziphi ingxenye onolwazi ngazo wena siqu eziqukethwe lapho nalezo ongenalo ulwazi ngazo wena siqu.
You start with paragraph 1.
Mhlawumbe siqale ke ngebinza lokuqala.
I'm sure we can skip paragraph 1, Mr. Harris.
I'm sure we can, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I could go straight to 2.
Shall we go to paragraph 2, sir?
Noma ke sidlulele ebinzeni lesibili.
Is there anything in paragraph 2 that you have no personal knowledge of?
Ingabe khona into ebinzeni lesibili ongayazi wena siqu sakho?
Ngiyacabanga sihlala ukuthi ukhuluma ngalolu daba ulithinta imali nanokuthi iqhamuka kuphi.
I'd like to think, Chair, that you are referring to the matter of the money and where it came from.
Well, I want you to read paragraph 2 of your first affidavit and tell me which parts, if any, of that sentence do not fall within your personal knowledge and did not fall within your personal knowledge at that time.
So cela ke lapho ukuthi okwenzayo ukuthi ufunde ibinza lesibili laleyo ncwadi efungelwe obese ke usho ukuthi ikona kuphi lapha kulela binza lesibili okuyinto ongenalo ulwazi lwayo wena siqu futhi owawungenalo ulwazi lwayo wena siqu ngenkathi usayinda leli affidavit?
Usihlalo engakuchaza kulokhu webinza lesibili ngingachaza ukuthi angikwazi ukuthi kwakuyi imiliyoni, angikwazi futhi ukuthi yayiqhamuka ku Dr. Savoy, but ngayibona kwi-affidavit ngokuthi u-treasurer wayesengichazelile ukuthi cha kunezinto esizenzile ezenzeke ngoyi-donation. Ngangicabanga ukuthi-ke umayelana nalokho, kodwa imali akayishongo u-treasurer, akashongo ukuthi iqhamuka kubo.
Chairperson,
Kodwa ngakubona kuyilokhuzana kule ncwadi efungele. Kodwa ngangicabanga ukuthi mina ummeli owangibonisa ukuthi ngisayine le ncwadi wayese-investigatile indaba.
Chairperson, in relation to paragraph 2, I did not have personal knowledge of the R1,000,000. I also did not have personal knowledge that it was from Dr. Savoy. I only saw those facts in the affidavit, but I also remembered that the treasurer had indicated to me that there were certain things that had been done through the use of donations. So when I was called concerning this matter, I thought it related to the same thing that the treasurer had spoken to me about earlier. And I also thought to myself that the attorney that advised me had in fact made some investigations to that effect. So I did not know those things were not within my personal knowledge at the time.
In that paragraph, you also said that a donation of R1,000,000 was received by the African National Congress. Did you have personal knowledge whether such a donation had been received by the organization or not?
Kulo leli binza lesibili uyaveza ukuthi imali engangesigidi samarandi yamukelwa imali eyi-donation yamukelwa inhlangano ye-African National Congress. Ingabe wawunalo yini ulwazi wawunalo wena siqu sokuthi inhlangano yabe yamukele leso sipho kumbe leyo donation yaleyo mali?
Angenazi.
No, Chair, it was not within my personal knowledge at the time.
Mr. Harry, with regard to the rest, it might be quicker if you just break them up and put it to him.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Then in paragraph 3, it says here that Mr. Sipho Shabalala had advised the organization that such a donation had been made. Before I go on to the rest of it, were you aware of such advice being given by Mr. Sipho Shabalala?
Ebinzeni lesithathu kuyavela inkulumo ethi umnumzane uSipho Shabalala wazisa inhlangano ukuthi sikhona isipho salolo hlobo ngebidonation enjalo eyabe yamukelwe. Ingabe wena wawukwazi yini lokho ukwazi kwakho siqu ukuthi umnumzane uShabalala wazisa inhlangano ngalokho?
Sihlalo uma ngabe nje ngichaza kahle sihlalo konke lokho kuseku-affidavit yokuqala akulona ulwazi lami ngatshelwa ummeli akukho ngikwaziyo kulo paragraph yokuqala, angazi lutho kulo paragraph yokuqala. Ngachazelwa ummeli wayesengichazela ukuthi siphi isizathu sokuthi ngisayine lokuqala, kodwa anginalo ulwazi or i-content yale information yokuqala.
Chairperson, perhaps to just put it like this, the information contained in my first affidavit is not and was not within my personal knowledge. These are the things that I was told by the attorney, and the attorney further told me why it was necessary that I'll be the one who would sign that affidavit. But contents of the first affidavit are not within my personal knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you could then, before we move on to the second affidavit, you've explained that the reason why you deposed to the second affidavit was because you had received a number of questions that asked you for further detail relating to the first affidavit. And it's as a result of that you deposed to the second affidavit. Is that correct?
Uye watshela ikhomishana lapha ukuthi okuyikona okwaba imbangela yokuthi ubhale incwadi yakho efungelwe yesibili ukuthi kunembuzo owase uyithola eyabe icela ukuthi unabe kabanzi ngalokho okuqukethwe encwadini yokuqala efungelwe, kanti ke wabe usubhala ke incwadi yakho yesibili efungelwe ngenxa yokuthi nakho kwase kuthiwa cacisa ngalokho okuqukethwe encwadini yokuqala efungelwe. Ngabe kunjani?
Yebo, Sihlalo.
That is correct, Chair.
Just before you proceed, Mr. Halley,
Thank you.
it can't be true, Mr. Mzila, that it was the attorney who told you about paragraph 4, isn't it? In paragraph 4, you say, I'm aware that the money was utilized to pay various service providers for items related to the Provincial Congress held in August 2008. You can't attribute that to something that you were told by the attorney, isn't it? Because I think you said you were told by the treasurer. Is that correct?
Masibuka lapha Mnumzana Umzila ibinza lesine akunakwazi ukuthi lokho okuqukethwe yibinza lesine kuthiwe wakuzwa ngommeli ngoba ibinza lesine liveza ke ukuthi ngiyazi ukuthi kunemali eyatholakala eyabe iyisipho kanti leyo mali yabisisetshenziswa ekukhokheleni izinto ezithize nabahlinzeki beyinkonzo ezithize maqondana nenkomfa yesifundazwe eyabe isingethwe ngo-August ka-2008. Tike lapha usihlala kunakwazi lokho ukuthi ke ngingathiwa ulwazi owalithola livela kummeli ngoba uye waveza ngaphambilini ukuthi lolu lwazi walithola livela ku-treasurer. Ngabe kunjani?
Ngibonge Sihlalo. Kuyiqiniso Sihlalo ukuthi incwadi yokuqala efungelwe ngayisayina yafika ne-attorney. Kuyiqiniso futhi ukuthi lokho ngikusho eqaleni ukuthi u-treasurer umgcini mafa wayesekade esengitshelile ukuthi kunezinto ezikhokhele. Uma ngabe sefika i-attorney mayisifika ummeli efika nale ncwadi emqondweni wami kwakukuthi nalokhu engikutshela u-treasurer nalokhu ucishe ekhambisana. Isizathu sokuthi ngenze lesibili ukuthi ngangenzela ukuthi ngoba incwadi efunge imibuzo isifikile yayisifuna ama-details, kodwa kuyiqiniso ukuthi le ncwadi efungele yokuqala ayibhalwanga yimina, angiyazi ngafika nje sekuthiwa angiyibhale angisayine ngisayinela esikhundleni se-ANC, kodwa i-content yakhona ayifikanga nami ayibhalwanga mina, kodwa u-treasurer wayesengichazelile kunezinto and nami ngiyazazi lezi zinto ezingakhokhelwanga i-ANC.
Chairperson, it is correct that the first affidavit was brought to me by an attorney is further correct that I did have conversation with the treasurer where he informed me that some donation had been received and that that donation had been used to pay for certain things pertaining to the conference. It is true that when I was now approached by the attorney concerning signing of the affidavit, I thought to myself that what this affidavit speaks about is also the same thing that the treasurer had spoken to me about. What is also correct is that when this affidavit was brought to me, it had already been written. Its contents were not written by myself. It was for that reason, Chairperson, that when I was asked to give further details containing the contents of the first affidavit, I deposed to the second one to say that those were not within my personal knowledge and that they should be referred to the treasurer.
Is it, going back to paragraph 3, where among other things you say Mr. Shabala brought the money to our offices in cash, is that one of the things you had no knowledge of?
Masibuyela kule ibinza lesithathu uma uvela laphana ukuthi umnumzana uShabalala waletha le mali emahhovisini ethu iucash, ezinye zezinto lezo okuwulwazi owawungenalo wena siqu sakho.
Yebo, sir.
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, if you would turn with me to Exhibit RR 7.7, Mr. Chair, it forms part of bundle LEA 27. And the relevant page, sir, is at page 233.
Okay.
Is that a different bundle?
That's a different bundle. That's the bundle that's for Mr. Mabuyukulu. It's bundle LEA 27, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I thought you would go to the second affidavit first. Or is
The witness has referred to a document in this, and I want you to identify the document.
Okay. That's RR7. Is it RR7?
It's RR 7.7.
And page?
It's page 233, Mr. Chair.
The bundle that I have is RR7, but I hear you say 0.7.
It's part of Exhibit RR 7.7, but it is RR 7, Mr. Chair.
Okay, what is the page number?
Page 233.
Is that the SAPS letter?
It's the SAPS letter dated the 7th of September 2009.
Yeah, okay.
So cela ke mnumzane Mzila ukuphuthumela phaya ku RR7 bese ubheka laphana ikhasi u233 nokuyincwadi evela kumaphoyisa kumbe umsebenzi wamaphoyisa waseNingizimu Afrika.
Ngisacela ukunikezela ukuthi bancane ngesihlalo. Without checking the page.
Okay, just bear with me.
Page 233, using the black numbers at the top left corner of the page.
Okay, kuzoba u233 amehlo akho agcibise kulezi inombolo ezimnyama ezingasohlangothini besokunxele phezulu.
So this is the letter that is dated the 7th of September 2009. It's from the SAPS and it's addressed to Ungubani Worlds Incorporated Attorneys.
Lapha ke incwadi le ebhalwe ngomhla ka7 September ka 2009 evela kwa SAPS ebhekiswe lapha ya ku Ungubani Worlds Attorneys.
Have you found it?
Usuyitholile mnumzane Mzila?
Sihlalo ukuthi kwenzeke mistake masikhuluma ekuseni ukuthi sina ngiprepare ama-document. Bekuthiwa ngiprepare ama-affidavits. Manje nangaprinteka lokwaprintile kodwa bamaprinte sekulate sengitatazela ngoba benginesizathu sokuthi kuneke ngiprinte ama-affidavits ngihlale endlini. Kodwa likhona ama-emails mhlampe u-advocate if angangibuza ama-questions because ila ma-questions lawo sihlalo engacela ukuthi ngingakwazi ukuthi ngiwaphendule ngoba anginalo ulwazi lawo.
Yes, no, that's...
So nganga-concentrate kakhulu kuwona sihlalo.
Okay, no, that's fine. Mr. Interpreter, do you want to interpret that?
Yes, Chair. Chair, I seem not to be able to find that particular letter. What happened is I was told to print out the 2 affidavits in preparation for this hearing. There was a mix-up when we were preparing the papers in a hurry this morning, but perhaps if an advocate could be able just to ask me questions pertaining to that letter, I think I'll be able to answer them because it's in relation to those questions that I had said should be referred to the Treasurer because I would not be able to answer them.
I think Mr. Hadi, from his answer, I think he suspects that the letter you are referring to is one that came with questions for him from what he has said, and I think you wanted him to identify the letter.
Yes.
If he can't find it, it's not a train smash.
Not a train smash.
We know that this letter wanted certain questions to be dealt with. We know he has said that after he had signed the first affidavit, there were lots of questions, and that's why he did the second affidavit. I think we should just get on to the second affidavit. Yeah.
If you could turn with me, sir, then to page 1845. This is your second affidavit.
So, kolake lapha mnumzane Mzila uye lapha ya ekhasini 1845 nokuyilapho kuqokethwe khona incwadi yakho efungelwe yesibili.
That is the other bundle.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, this is bundle RR4.
Bundle RR4.
RR4.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
continue.
Which paragraph is that?
So in paragraph 4, you say, I previously deposed to an affidavit in this matter in August 2009. Now, which affidavit are you referring to when you say you previously deposed to an affidavit in this matter in August 2009?
Lapha ke kule ncwadi efungelwe uma ubuka lapha yana ebinzeni lesine kuyabonakala ukuthi uthi ngesikhathi esidlule khona incwadi efungelwe ngiye ngayibhala ngo-August ka-2009. Eyiphi le ncwadi efungelwe okhuluma ngayo uma uthi ngiye ngabhala incwadi efungelwe ngaphambilini?
Incwadi engayibhala yesibili efungelwe ile yesibili ya August 8.
I think he's done, Mr. Interpreter.
Ngicela ungiphindele mnumzane Mzila, ngingakuzwa.
Ya ngithi incwadi yesibili ngayibhala ngo-August 2009. Incwadi 2000.
Okay, can I just intervene? I know you have not heard Mr. Hali what he's saying. Mr. Mzila, the question is, in your second affidavit, you refer to a previous affidavit that you say you had signed. Mr. Hali's question was, which previous affidavit are you referring to?
Umzila, uyabona kule ncwadi yakho efungwele yesibili lapha ebinzeni lesine kunenkulumo ethi ngaphambilini ngike ngabhala incwadi efungelwe kulolu daba ngo-August ka-2009. Ummeli ke lapha ubuza ukuthi eyiphi le ncwadi efungelwe odwa wayibhala ngaphambilini.
Sihlalo ngibonge incwadi efungelwe ezu-2. Ngicabanga ukuthi kwenzeka iphutha la sithi 2009 u-2010 incwadi yesibili engayibhala zu-2 incwadi efungelwe ngayibhala.
Chairperson,
ngabhala lokuqala ngaphinde ngabhala esibili, azikho ezinye engayibhala.
Chairperson, there are 2 affidavits that I posed to. I think there was a mistake here. The second one was made in 2010. There's the first one, and then there's the second one. There are only 2 affidavits that I made.
So the first one was done in 2009. Is that the one you were referring to when you said you referred to a previous affidavit?
Ngamanye amazwi leyo yokuqala wayenza ngo-2009 iyo le okhuluma ngayo uma uthi kunencwadi efungelwe ingengayenza ngaphambilini.
Kancane sihlala ngisafuna nje ukucheck ama-date kule yokuqala nalesibili ukuze ngikhulume into okuyiyona yona.
The chair could just bear with me. I want to look at the dates for the first and the second affidavits so that I will speak with certainty.
Okay, Mr. Mzila, there's a stamp, I think it's a police stamp on the affidavit your first affidavit, the one we were dealing with earlier. The police stamp indicates 2009. Is that your first affidavit, the one we were dealing with earlier?
Masibuyela kule ncwadi le yakhe efungelwe ebesikhuluma ngayo ekuqaleni kunestem samaphoyisa lapha esinonyaka ka-2009 kule ncwadi yakhe besikhuluma ngayo ngaphambilini. Ngabe ke iwona lapho wasayina khona le affidavit yokuqala?
Yeah, le yokuqala is April 2009.
Yes, Chair, the first one was in April of 2009.
Okay, Mr. Khalid, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You go on to say the said affidavit is with the investigating officer in this matter, Superintendent Deploy. Subsequent to my affidavit, a series of questions have been to ANC KZN attorneys and Ngubani Wills Incorporated on 7 September 2009.
Iyaqhubeka ke lencwadi lapha kulibingani lesine uthi ke lencwadi efungelwe ngikhuluma ngayo ikumphenyi weqala lapha kulolu daba uSuperintendent Deploy. Emva ke kwaleyo ncwadi efungelwe unembuzo yabhekiswa ANC waKwaZulu Natal bameli bakwaNgubane Wills kusukela Taka 7 September 2009.
See that?
Yebo, Sihlalo.
Yes, Chair.
Afika ama-questions efuna ngichaze kabanzi nge-affidavit yokuqala lefungelwe incwadi yokuqala lefungelwe afika ama-question.
That is correct, Chair. There were series of questions that were forthcoming wanting me to explain further about the first affidavit.
And then at paragraph 8 of the same affidavit, to continue with this present theme, under paragraph 8, after you've answered certain issues, you go on to a heading called Answer to Questions, and then you've got paragraphs A, B, C, and D. And on the following page, paragraph E, are these the answers to the questions that had been posed to you in the letter of 7 September 2009?
Mawubuka ke lapha uqhubeka kuze uyofika lapha ebinzeni lika 8 kunesihlokwana lapha esibhalwe ukuthiwa answers to questions okungukuthi ke izimpendulo zemibuzo bese ke qhubeka njalo kusukela ku A uhambe njalo kuze kuyofika ku-E. Ingabe ke lapha izona impendulo owawunazo lezi maqondana nemibuzo eyabe ibhekiswe kuwe maqondana ne-affidavit wawusayine ngonyaka ka-2009?
Yebo Sihlalo, kwakuyimpendulo engangizama ukuthi ngichaze ukuthi kwenza kanjani ukuthi ngize ngisayine lokuqala. Ngase ngichaza futhi ukuthi isiphi isizathu sokuthi ngisayine lokuqala ilokhuzana incwadi efungele.
Yes, Chair, these were answers in which I tried to explain as to the circumstances that led me to signing the first affidavit and why I signed the first affidavit.
Now, in paragraph A of the questions, the following question is posed to you regarding paragraph 1 of your affidavit, of your previous affidavit, that's the first affidavit. Personal and business contact details and addresses of the witness must please be provided in the first paragraph of the statement. Then Mr. Delani Mzila needs to elaborate on what his duties and responsibilities as the ANC's finance manager of the KwaZulu-Natal province entail, and specific mention must be made here of the procedures and processes he follows when he receives donations. If you turn to page 1847, in your answer to the questions, you've responded to that particular query.
Mr. Halley.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
In terms of the answers he gave, that might not be so important for our purposes. More important for our purposes is the circumstances under which he did the first and the second affidavit.
We've dealt with
because, in terms of answers, I don't think that, and the investigating officers of SAPS would be interested in that, but I don't think that I want us to go into details about that.
Thank you, Mr.
But what I am interested in, which might be mentioned there, which I was going to ask, and maybe you can ask, is what he deals with in the last sentence of his second affidavit. He says, when we receive donations, we follow ANC internal processes. I would like to hear about those.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, you've said, yes, sir, in your if you look at paragraph 3 of your affidavit at page 1845,
So qala ke lapha ubuke lapha ekhasini 1845 bese ubuka ibinza lesithathu.
Yebo, ngiyalibona.
I see it.
you say there, as a financial manager, my duties and responsibilities involved financial management and bookkeeping. You also say, when we receive donations, we follow ANC internal processes. Could you explain to the chairperson what those internal processes entail?
Mawubuka ke lapha kubhalwe ukuthi njengo financial manager minye yemisebenzi yami ibandakanya singathwa kwezeyimali nokugcinwa kwamabhuku bese ke kuphinde ukuthi uma kuukuthi khona isipho esisitholayo kumbe ke i-donation siyake silandele inqubo yokusebenza yangaphakathi ku-ANC. So cela ukuchazela usihlalo ukuthi mawukhuluma ngenqubo yangaphakathi yokusebenza ithini leyo nqubo yangaphakathi yokusebenza?
Sihlalo inqubo yokusebenza wangaphakathi kwi-ANC uma ngabe sithole imali or sithole usizo kubantu abasizayo abathanda ukusiza i-ANC sike kukhona abayifaka ebhenki, kukhona abasinikeza then bese sifaka ebhenki. Uma ngabe sesitholile sike sibhala incwadi yokubonga ukuthi sitholile imali. Kukhona abashoyo abathandayo ukuthi siba acknowledge ngokomgumo wakaSABC ukuze ba-akhawunti kaSABC. Kukhona bangenayo inkinga bathi hayi cha anginankinga mina ukuthi ningibhalele incwadi. Kodwa ama-internal processes ekade ngichaza ngawo ukuthi sike siyabonga ukuthi kunemali esiyitholile. Siyabonga ngosizo lwabo. Ileyo ncwadi isayinwa u-treasurer nonobhala.
Chair, when we receive donations from whosoever would like to assist the ANC, some would deposit their donations to a bank, whilst others would make their donations in cash. What we then do as the ANC is, after receiving those donations, we then write letters to our donors, thanking them for their donations. Some of our donors would also require us or ask of us that we give them documentation for tax purposes, where they would submit those to SARS concerning a donation that they would have made, whereas others would tell us not to bother about those documents. What then also happens is, but what primarily happens when I speak of the internal processes is that we thank the donors, we write them letters, and that letter of gratitude is signed by the treasurer as well as the secretary.
Do you mean that all that you are required in terms of internal processes of the ANC to do, if you get given a cash donation by somebody, is just to send a letter saying thank you for the donation? There is no obligation to bring the money to somebody within the ANC and have a receipt issued and have the money deposited into the ANC's bank account?
Ingabe okushoyo lapha mnumzana uMzila ukuthi uma kuwukuthi umuntu uyanikela kumbe ke uyapha lapha kwa ANC ngokuthi anikeze imali cash eniyake nikwenze ngokwenqubo yokusebenza ngaphakathi, kuyake kuba ukuthi lo muntu abhalelwe incwadi yokubonga kuphela, alube khona uhlelo olufana nokuthi kube khona umuntu oqondile leyo mali eyonikezwa kuye, leyo muntu bese ebhala ireceipt lokuthi nebala wamukele leyo mali, bese kuba ukuthi leyo mali iyandluliswa bese iyofakwa ebhange kwi-account lenhlangano.
Yebo Sihlalo, inqubomgomo esilandelayo ukuthi uma ngabe umuntu eyilethile imali siyayibala njengabantu base-ofisini. Uma ngabe sengiyinikezwe u-treasurer bese sihamba siyoyifaka ebhenki. Mase siyifaka ebhenki siyayithatha i-information yalowo muntu loyo osuke sinikeze imali, si-acknowledge, sibhale in-letter of gratitude yokuthi siyabonga, bese siyibhala ne-amount, especially laba abathanda ukuthi bafuna ukwenza ama-returns kaSARS, simentioneke imali. Kodwa kumnqubomgomo sikwenzayo ukuthi uma ngabe kukhona usizo silitholile sike sibabhalele sibabonge.
Chairperson, what would happen is if a person brings a cash donation, that amount of money will be taken and will be counted. The treasurer had received the money, will then be counted, and then it will be taken to the bank and be deposited into an ANC bank account. What we then do afterwards is we write those letters of gratitudes in which we then mention the amount that had been donated, especially for those who want to utilize that for tax return purposes. We then acknowledge them for their donation, but it is the internal process of the ANC that when a donation has been received, we write a letter and acknowledge those who would have donated to our organization.
Is there somebody within the ANC, maybe yourself as finance manager, who must see all the money that has been brought in as donations, that has been brought in whether by way of checks or cash, so that he can then make sure that the records of the organization correctly reflect all cash donations that have been received?
Ingabe khona yini umuntu oqokelwe nje ukuthi mhlambe kungaba uwe njengo finance manager okumsebenzi wakho ukuthi zonke imali ezisipho kumbe iminikelo enikezelwe inhlangano ngabe inikezwa njengo cash noma kusuke kuyisheke, owenza isiqiniseko ke sokuthi uyena owamukela lezo imali bese ke ekwazi nokuthi abhale ama receipt afanele maqondana nalezo imali, ukwenza isiqiniseko sokuthi amabhuku enhlangano ayaqonda maqondana neimali eyisuke zamukelwe inhlangano zimali eziyisipho.
Sihlalo ngoba ofisini angisebenzi ngedwa, uma ngabe kukhona usizo esilitholile siyalibala, angibalwa yimina kuphela, silibale masiqeda ukulibala bese silihambise ebhenki. Iletha lesibhala or incwadi yokubonga ifana ne-receipt yokuthi cha siyitholile imali engaka siyabonga, ifana ne-receipt. Then lo ncwadi leyo uma ngabe isibhaliwe isayinwa leadership abaholi, ayisayinwa yimina. Mina okwami umsebenzi ukwenza sure ukuthi incwadi imali ifakiwe ebhenki, sayibhala incwadi bese beyisayina abaholi.
Mr. Hamid.
Chair, what happens is if a person brings about a donation, since I do not work by myself in the office, there are others as well. We count the money. Having counted the money, we then take it to the bank, and then we prepare a letter of gratitude. That letter of gratitude has the amount of money that would have been received. It also serves as a receipt to say that we have received this amount of money and we thank you for that. But that letter is not signed by myself, but it is signed by the members of the leadership.
I sometimes forget that you're not understanding the Zulu version. You might be understanding some parts, but once I've heard, sometimes I forget that the interpreter must still interpret. Yes, continue if you still have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I know we don't have much time, but in case you still, those were the questions. Okay, I think I've got one more question for Mr. Mzila. Mr. Mzila, you understand that you have BCom degree, is that correct?
Engabe kuliqiniso mnumzane uMzila ukuthi uneziqu ze-BCom?
Yebo, sir.
Yes, Chair.
And you did have that qualification at the time of deposing to the first affidavit, is that right?
Ngenkathi ubhala lencwadi yakho yokuqala efungelwe wawuvela usunazo lezi ziqu zakho ze-BCom. Yes, Chair.
And you did say you read the affidavit, draft affidavit, before you signed it, is that right?
Uthe wayifunda lencwadi efungelwe ngaphambi kokuthi uyisayinde ngabe kunjani?
Yebo, sir.
Yes, Chair.
Did you know at the time that signing an affidavit is a serious matter?
Wawazi yini ngaleso sikhathi ukuthi ukusayinda i-affidavit kudaba olubucayi?
Sihlalo ngathi ngale ngathi ngayisayinwa nge-advice yabantu aba-understand umthetho nabantu abanolwazi lomthetho. Ngangiyisayina ngokuthi kwase kunalo ulwazi oluncane ngangenalo noma ngangenalo oluningi ukuthi why
Just stay still, Mr.
kodwa ngale
Mzila.
ngathi ngiyisayina nganginalo ulwazi oluncane ukuthi kukhona into engiyitshelile.
Please stay still. You are moving as you are
Khona into
talking.
eyenzakalile, khona usizo
Socela mnumzane uMzila nje ume ndawonye bese uma ngale ndlela bomngayi eqaleni ngoba ude uba nokunyakaza nje ukukhuluma nje. Siyabonga.
I want to see you as you answer the question. Please respond to the question, but let me put the question to you again. At the time of signing the first affidavit, did you know that signing an affidavit is a serious matter? That's all I'm asking.
Thike lapha sihlalo ufuna ukuthi akubone mawuphendula umbuzo uthike umbuzo uzophinde akubuze wona njengamanje ukuthi ngenkathi usayinda lencwadi efungelwe wawazi yini ukuthi ukusayinda incwadi efungelwe kumbe i-affidavit uyinto laphayana ebucayi uthi nje yilokho kuphela akubuzayo?
ngangazi sihlalo
I knew, Chair.
ngangazi.
Oh, I beg your pardon, I did not.
Did you think signing an affidavit is not a serious matter?
Ngabe ucabanga ukuthi ukusayinda i-affidavit akuyona into ebucayi kumbe semqoka?
Ngangazi.
I did not know, Chair.
How could you not know that, Mr. Mzila? You are a finance manager of a big organization. In KZN, the ANC, you're a finance manager, you have a big home, you say you didn't know that signing an affidavit is a serious matter?
Ungasho kanjani kepha mnumzane uMzila ukuthi wawungazi ukuthi ukusayinda i-affidavit kudaba olubucayi umuntu lapha osesikhundleni sokuba umphathi wezeyimali phecelezi u-finance manager enhlanganweni wenkulu esifundazweni saKwaZulu Natal kanti futhi uneziqu ze-BCom?
Sihlalo mhlambe mengase ngithi kuyichaza kancane sihlalo ukuthi ukusayina kwami incwadi efungelwe ngayisayiniswa ukuthi kwathiwa ngiyisayine ngoba mina ngise-ofisini. I'm dealing with administrative matters. Okwesibili no-treasurer abayiseshile ukuthi kukhona usizo silutholile. Ngase ngisayina mina ngokuthi senginalo ulwazi lokuthi kunosizo silutholile. Ngayisayina on behalf of the ANC to confirm, because vele kunezinto esasezenziwe ezazingakhokhelwanga i-office ngoba mina ngangikhokhe ama-payment then ngiwasubmit treasurer for approval.
Chair, I signed this affidavit because I was told that I should be the one to sign it because I was office-based and I'm the one who dealt with administrative matters. Further to that, because the chairperson, I beg your pardon, the treasurer had in fact indicated to me that we had received some donation, and I also knew that there were certain things that we had done that had not been paid for by the office, and I thought to myself that this was known by the ANC and that I was to sign on behalf of the ANC.
Did you take an oath before the Commission of Oaths before you signed your first affidavit?
Ngaphambi kokuthi usayinde incwadi yakho efungelwe yokuqala, ingabe wafunga yini? Khona umuntu wafunga phambi kwakhe onegunya lokufungisa abantu?
Yes, ngayisa kummeli ngathi ngicela ngicommission. Ummeli owangi-advise uMrs. Ngubani wathi angiyise e-police station ukuze i-commission, kodwa angaze ngiyenze i-oath ngayi-commission.
Ngiyaxolisa nomzamo, ngicela ungiphindele le ngxenye engasekugcineni.
Ummeli owangithumelela incwadi wangithumelela ngase ngihambisa e-police station to i-commission.
Chairperson, the attorney sent me the affidavit. I then took the affidavit to the police station to have it commissioned.
But did you take an oath before you signed it before the police?
Wasithatha isifungo phambi kokuthi iphoyisa liyisayine kumbe ke liyikhomishine?
You can't remember?
Awusakhumbuli?
I can't remember. Angisakhumbuli Sihlalo.
Chair, I cannot remember.
Well, the police officer before whom you signed acknowledged in the certificate that you had taken the oath, and you said you considered the oath binding on your conscience. Are you not sure that you took the oath?
Ngokusho kwephoyisa lapha kulesi certificate sokufungisa lithi ke wasithatha isifungo kanti futhi waveza ukuthi isifungo usithatha njengento ekubophezelayo kunembeza wakho. Ngabe ke awusakhumbuli noma wasithatha?
Angisakhumbuli Sihlalo ukuthi ngasithatha, kodwa lokho kubhalwe la kwincwadi yokuqala yokuzibophezela akubhalwanga yimina. Mina okwami ngacela ukuthi ngihambe ngokucommission.
I cannot remember, Chair, but as to what is contained in the first affidavit, it was not written by myself. I was asked to sign it and then have it commissioned.
Well, it doesn't matter who wrote it. If you put your name to it and you signed, by doing so, you were saying what is written there is yours. And you said in the first paragraph, well, you say you were stating this under oath. That's what, just before paragraph 1, that's what you said. And anything you say under oath is serious, isn't it?
Ke akukhathaleki ukuthi ubani owabe eyibhalile, kodwa ke uma uke wayisayinda lokho ke kwenza isithombe sokuthi konke lokho okuqukethwe lapha kube ngokwakho kumbe kube into eshiwo uwe kanti uma ubuka lapha kulawa magama andulela ibinza lokuqala athi ngiyakusho lokhu ngaphansi kwesifungo kanti ke into umuntu ayisho ngaphansi kwesifungo kusuke kuyinto ngempela leyo esemqoka futhi nebucayi ngabe uyavumelana nalokho?
Sihlalo noma ngathi sihlalo ezinye izathu ezangenza ukuthi ngayidoubt i-information ekwi-affidavit ukuthi ngathola i-advice kwi-attorney. I then assume ukuthi everything that is being said here esho la isi-investigative and ngase nginayo i-brief.
Chairperson, one of the reasons why I signed the affidavit and I did not have suspicions that there was something untoward about it is the fact that I was advised by an attorney to sign it, and so I assumed that whatever is contained here has been investigated and is above board.
Next time you sign an affidavit, Mr. Msila, make sure you don't sign an affidavit and say things that you have no personal knowledge of, unless if you have heard them from somebody, you state so in your affidavit that you heard them from somebody, or unless they are contained in records that are under your control. Otherwise, when you say anything that you have no personal knowledge of in an affidavit, you must make it clear that you don't have personal knowledge of that. If you say anything in an affidavit that is false, that's perjury, and you can be criminally charged. Do you understand that?
Nasike seluleka okamzila ukuthi esikhathini esizayo uma uzosayinda incwadi efungelo wenza isiqiniseko sokuthi awuyisayini into ngaphandle kuma kuukuthi lento osuke uyisayinda into osuke unolwazi lwayo wena siqo noma uma kungenjalo kuba ukuthi uyakuveza lokho ukuthi lolu lwazi ulithole komunye umuntu noma uma kukhulunywa ngento mhlambe okungukuthi ke ama-record ayo makufunakala ukuthi vele ama-record osuke unawo wena siqo ongakwazi ukuthi uwaveze kodwa ke ungasho into kube sengathi yaziwa uwe uqobo uma kungenjalo kanti ke ngoba phela uma kunjalo ungase uthathwe njengomuntu okhuluma into engamanga ngaphansi kwesifungo kanti ukukhuluma into engamanga ufungile lokho kuyicala okungathi ngalo uthweswe amacala obugebengu kumbe weshushiswe ngalo ngabe uyaqonda lokho?
Ngicela ukubonga kusihlalo useluleko ngiyavumisa ngesithathu iseluleko.
Chair, thank you for your advice, and I do receive your advice, and I thank you.
Okay, we are going to excuse you now. Thank you for availing yourself, and thank you to the interpreter. You are both excused.
Nomzana Umzila siyabonga ke ubufakazi bakho buyaphela lapho usungakhuleka.
Ngiyabonga.
I guess Mr. Hadiye, I must also excuse. Oh, I mustn't excuse you. You still have work to do.
I'm afraid I'm still here.
You still have work to do. Okay, all right. Let's. We have delayed counsel for the NPA officials, so let's start with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Well, let him just.
Perhaps Mr. Matabedi, I'm not sure if I see he's arrived. I see, Mr. Matibedi, the counsel for the NPA officials has arrived.
Yeah.
I couldn't recognize him with this.
Because of the
shining
light,
in my eyes.
Okay, all right. Let him
Thank you, Mr.
come to the podium. They will just sanitize first. While they are sanitizing, let me deal with the application that was brought by Mr. Sisoko and Mr. Kuba. That application was for them to be allowed to be served with the summaries that were going to be presented by the NPA officials and to respond. That application is dismissed. It's dismissed because, one, the summaries are meant to be summaries of affidavits that would have been served on them, and they would have had a chance to respond to those affidavits already. The summaries are not meant to introduce anything that is not in the affidavits already that they have been served with. And two, they have had a chance to give oral evidence, whereas the NPO officials are not going to be giving oral evidence. This exercise I've authorized this exercise in order that the public knows what the gist of their response is to the evidence that has been given by certain witnesses against them. So that application is dismissed, but I always retain the right, if later on I realize that there is something in the summaries that requires their response, I can always give a direction. But at this stage, there is no reason to give them an opportunity to respond to summaries, whether in writing or verbally. Yes, Mr. Matibedi. Good afternoon, Mr. Matibedi.
Chairperson, in the previous appearance, we gave an undertaking that we will ensure that we file the summaries today by 10 o'clock to enable the matter to be heard at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Chairperson, unfortunately, we are mindful of the inconvenience and the time constraints that this commission is operating under. But at the same time, we have a responsibility wherein we have to go through the affidavits of 8 applicants and the transcript and the affidavits of the persons that accuse them of having been captured either for political or corrupt reasons. We are asking that we give an indulgence that definitely by tomorrow at midday we will file those affidavits, because what we are doing, we are trying our level best to trim down the summaries, only to include what is necessary for the purpose of the summaries. I really apologize for that, Chairperson.
Well,
and also the manner in which we are trimming down the summaries will also reduce the time period for the reading of the summaries.
Well, the you have addressed one problem, you haven't addressed the other one. Maybe because you think it's implied. You were supposed to file the summaries by 10 o'clock.
That's correct.
But at 2 o'clock, we were supposed to start with the presentation, the oral presentation of the summaries. Of course, I was informed that you were having some challenges, and I then said, well, let's start with this other witness. Otherwise, this other witness, I was going to shift to somewhere, some other time. I was told that you were having some challenges, and I thought, well, maybe you can do with a delay of an hour, which ended up being more than an hour, and maybe by then you might say, look, the summaries are here, we are sorry we didn't hand them in by 10, but they are here, and we ask that we still be allowed to deal with them orally today. But from what you are saying, it doesn't look like that's what you are saying. You are saying, can we file them tomorrow? And by implication, maybe you are asking that your opportunity to present the summaries orally be postponed.
Chairperson, I thought in my submissions I've answered both, but that is the situation.
Yeah, no, you didn't say so expressly, but that's why I said maybe you think it's implied, but well, you see, what was the date? It was the 16th, 1/6, when we dealt with, well, some of them we dealt with on the 15th, isn't it, of June.
That's correct, Chairperson.
And on the morning of the 16th, you appeared, and that's when we finalized, if I recall correctly, or maybe they were all postponed from the 15th to the 16th. I can't remember, but I do remember that on the 16th, that's when you stood before me and we postponed. Today is the 25th, so that gives you about 10 or 9 days during which there's been an opportunity to make the summaries. And of course, then we may have planned to use Monday, because you remember my original understanding was that I had given you Monday, and then there was an understanding that no, I had given you today. But after we concluded that the summaries would be handed in at 10 a.m. today, this morning, and the summaries would be presented orally at 2 this afternoon, I then filled up Monday, because there are always demands for dates for witnesses. So there is that difficulty as we speak. Yes.
Chairperson, I think I need to indicate to the chairperson that the manner in which we are summarizing and scaling it down, we are not going to need more than 2 hours to make the presentation.
Okay, I think let us do this. Let me say, provide the summaries like yesterday, so even tomorrow at the earliest opportunity. But I can't give you anything more than that for now. Let's see the summaries, and There are 8 officials.
That's correct, Chairperson.
Yeah. I can't promise, okay? I can't promise, but I will have a look at the schedule and see whether we can squeeze in somewhere between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Somewhere we might, if we can find one space where maybe there is 2 hours, maybe we'll do that. But if we can't find one space which has got 2 hours, we would then give you 1 hour on there and another hour there. But I think that we just would have to come back to you after we have seen the summaries. It would be important to, obviously, once I've seen a space, we would let you know as soon as possible. But obviously, this is an arrangement where you just have to juggle with your diary and try and fit in with our situation as much as you can.
Chairperson, it's understandable.
Yes.
That we also have to bear in mind, the time constraint within which the commission work. But we really appreciate the chairperson's understanding, and also we have a situation wherein I think it is in the interest of our client that at least that version should be put before the commission, and they should not be blamed because the legal team could not finish the summaries within the time that we thought we were going to finalize that.
Yes, what I do want you to and your clients to appreciate is that I would authorize, if this hasn't happened already, but it's unlikely to have happened because they had not given evidence yet, your clients, I would authorize that there are affidavits which respond to the affidavits of the witnesses who implicated them can be put on the commission's website so that the public has access to their full version. So that can be done. And then, of course, because the real reason for the summaries, it's more about to inform the public in the same forum where the evidence implicating them was aired. So that's the idea. The summaries, as you would know, won't have any evidential value. What has evidential value is their affidavits, which they have filed in response to those people who have implicated them. But the summaries, when they are read out or they are dealt with openly in public, they serve the purpose of informing the public what your clients have to say about these allegations, which is important.
We really appreciate that, Chairperson. As also taking into account that there are some members of the public who would not be, interested in what is on the website.
Yeah.
Or some people do not have the facilities to can go and check what the version of the applicants are.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that, Chairperson. Yes. I undertake that I'll make sure this time that those affidavits finds their way by tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine then. Let's leave it at that, and then you might hear from Mr. Harley over the weekend if a space comes up, if I identify a space on Monday, or you might hear from him on Monday if the space is on Tuesday.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think I must thank Mr. Hardy. He's always, cooperative.
Yes.
I get in touch with him whenever there are challenges.
Yes.
Thanks,
No, that's fine. But I must also say that apart from the challenges you have had with regard to filing the summaries within the deadline, I think that you have been very cooperative as well. So maybe the two of you are working well together.
Well, Chairperson, that is in the interest of our clients and also of the country at large, that we should cooperate.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to then adjourn and until Monday. For the benefit of the public, I mentioned that on Monday, the Commission will hear the evidence of Mr. Zizi Kodwa in the morning. We adjourn.
As long as